federal process guidelines or anything. It's essentially you're handing us money. And also good news that we have an opportunity to work with a consultant called VHB. And I think I've mentioned this, but VHB has a very strong ties to Davidson through Lauren Blackburn, who's on their staff, who was a former planning director at Davidson and then went to the NCDOT Bike and Ped Division, was the head of that statewide and has been this consulting role. And so somebody that's very familiar with our town and values. So we're excited about that. The latest information I've gotten from Brian Mayhew, who is the state traffic safety engineer, is that we could look at starting in the second week of August, and get them on board. Be ready to start then. We would anticipate having a kickoff meeting with this group. I feel like we already have a fairly good general scope, which we developed for the RFQ. We certainly can work further on that, to get started with them, but that's going to be our starting point. So again, we're kind of looking at the second week of August for everything to sort of go through the approval process with NCDOT. So that's kind of it. In a nutshell, we can thank Natasha Marcus for her help with this funding. It's one of many things in the pedestrian safety area that she has done for us. So, and this is another one. So any questions on the Vision Zero plan?
Well, that's great news.
Yeah,
I think
it
so.
really is.
We can use the money for something else, pedestrian safety related. So
yeah. Doug, when you mentioned that firm, is that the one that's selected for the consultant role, or are we waiting for different applications?
We've selected them. There were two firms, and the NCDOT has a certain number of firms on call. They're all fairly good, but there were two that I mentioned here that really stood out, and VHB I think is a great choice for Davidson. The other was Kittleson Associates, and they also have some ties to us and some more values, but not as much as VHB. So certainly willing to revisit that, but I think they're just the runaway choice, and I think we probably would have ended up with this firm if we had gone through our own selection process. Just now, someone else is paying for it. It's a little bit expedited, and we've got 50,000 to use for something else.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
so
are
that
the
was great
initials
because
of that?
the learning curve.
Yeah, so
for them.
reach out to Senator Marcus and express your thanks, because again, she was very, very helpful with us.
What are the
So
initials?
Doug, what are the other things she's helped with? Just as part of that conversation.
Yeah, so she asked us to submit some other pedestrian safety projects, and one that I've submitted was more of the flashing beacons, because she's gotten us money for those before, including the ones that we're just now wrapping up. We're doing the last installation at the Walnut Street, Main Street intersection. That one was delayed because of the Charlotte Water project. But this last round of 5 intersections that we put in, she got us 100,000 for that. So that was great. And I've asked for monies for 4 devices on Concord Road. They have to be for state roads. So it was the four intersections, basically traveling east on Concord Road toward the Barger roundabout. So essentially, we're just working our way out, trying to
That's
get
awesome.
all the major intersections. We want all of them.
Thanks.
Okay, welcome. Pat, you had a question?
No, I just, I guess those 2 companies were the ones the state sponsored, that if we used one of them, they would pay for it. Is that correct?
yes, they are paying for it. They have, there may be 10 firms that they have on call.
Yeah.
Of those, we were quickly able to identify that those two were a very good match for Davidson. That was pretty easy for us to get to that point. And I think PHP is a great choice for us, and that Lauren will do a real good job. And the other staff there as well. They're a good firm. They did the plan in Greensboro. So there are not a lot of adopted Vision Zero plans in North Carolina. I think only the city of Charlotte. Is that right, Leslie? Who did theirs internally, with 3 staff essentially over an 8-month period. So they're one of the few that have successfully completed a good plan in North Carolina as well.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as we learned at the Vision Zero Leadership Forum, there's a lot that are trying to get a plan started. We are ahead of a lot of people. We realize that. So.
And I think Mooresville's planning to start their plan. They got a grant as well. Is that? I think that's the case.
Yep.
So any more questions on the Vision Zero plan?
I think so.
I'm sorry, Doug, could you repeat what the next steps are now that they've been selected?
Yeah, so the next steps are we have to provide the scope for, they're going through an internal NCDOT process right now that there's nothing for us to do. They have determined that VHB has enough staff to work on this. That's something. And we may refine the scope of work that we developed in the RFQ. So that's something that we can be working on in the meantime. But for this group, I think that really the 2 things would be any further refinements to the scope of work and then a kickoff meeting with a consultant at our August meeting.
Okay, awesome. So that'll be August that we'll start working together.
Is it the 15th? Is that when our meeting is in August?
So it would be the 8th, I guess, technically for us.
Yeah, the 8th might not, I mean, there's a chance we'll be ready by then. I hope we'll be ready a little, so I said it could be as long as 6 weeks, hopefully
Okay.
sooner. So, I think that would be a great way for us to have our kickoff meeting with all of us on August 8th. That would be good timing.
Okay,
So
perfect.
Jennifer, when you send when we get the meeting minutes and stuff and you send those out, maybe in the email, just mention, our meeting is scheduled for August 8th in August, but depending on where the consultant is, we might move that meeting to August 15th. So then we can all have the kickoff and be there. So you might want to just mention that so that people can set kind of placeholders in both, just to be safe.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. I'll definitely.
Yeah, I think I can touch base with everyone kind of in the first week of August. We hopefully should have that nailed down. We'll see.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's great news. I'm glad that all happened so quickly and easily. And thanks to Senator Marcus and Doug and Leslie and all of you guys for your hard work. Really appreciate those updates. So yeah, thank you.
And it's free.
Yeah, that's incredible. It really is. Did anybody else have any more questions on the consultant role or the Vision Zero plan at this point? Okay. All right, hearing none, we can move to staff updates.
Sure. So one of the major things that we're still keeping an eye on is the changes to our downtown signalization that we talk about every time. And again, what that is that we will be changing the programming of the signals such that vehicles will not have a left turn arrow either permitted or protected while somebody is in that conflicting crosswalk. So pedestrian will not have a walk indication while somebody has a left turn permitted or protected. And also we'll be hanging the blank out signs that we've talked about up on the signal wires that will alert right turning motorists that there's somebody in the crosswalk and it'll say no right on red while somebody's in the crosswalk and that cross signal is on, the pedestrian signal is on. They came and got the equipment today, the NCDOT. They have said that they're going to get this in by the end of the month, so that's good. They're a partner to us, and the installation is more expensive than the equipment, but the town paid for the engineering, which was the most expensive part of all. But so keeping an eye on that, and I've got a write-up already finished that's ready to go on social media ahead of that. I did that a couple weeks ago because what we've had happen in the past is they will show up one morning and start working, and they're not good with notifying us. They've never been good at that. So we'll be ready when they show up. So that's one of the big things there. So still on target for the end of July. We have finished construction of sidewalk on Catawba Avenue. Glad to see that. That's the little road back behind Hook Lumber. And behind the old Hook Lumber site. We're starting construction on sidewalk on Delberg Street this Thursday, this week. So we'll be mobilizing on site out there. So that's exciting. We're starting engineering for the Beatty Street sidewalk. This is sidewalk on the Community School Davidson and Train Technology side of Beatty Street, and it will complete sidewalk on that street. So we'll be doing everything that's missing there from Oak Hill Apartments to it's called Naples Drive. It's the Davidson Bay development there near Armour Street. So that'll be a really good thing to have there. Just so many uses on that street that, we'll need sidewalk, and the park coming soon too. And also now, as we're starting, the government fiscal year starts in July 1 for those that don't know that. So that's when we get our new budget loaded. And one of the things I have with that budget is $200,000 for miscellaneous pedestrian safety improvements. I've talked with some of you on the Pedestrian Safety Task Force about this. I talked with the Mobility Subcommittee about this. But this was monies that the town board designated a few years ago for smaller scale improvements, specifically pedestrian. And that was originally 150,000. And one of the recommendations from the Pedestrian Safety Task Force and others has been to bump that up. So I now have 200,000 and a lot of good things to do with that. So what I'd like to do is I had a few changes in that plan here very recently, just sort of send a budget proposed improvements to y'all, what we plan on doing with that money. I also will be sending that to the Mobility Subcommittee. That's a small group that works with us on the mobility plan, monitoring that. So I'll send that to y'all. You can look at it, get back to me with any questions you have about it. I think we've got some very good projects on there. I'm excited to be completing sidewalk at a section between St. Albans and Dogwood Lane that's been out there for a while, and also to be improving it's a pedestrian path that we have a formal easement on Pot Street, and it is at the cul-de-sac, the northern end of Pot Street where the Habitat for Humanity development was, and people use that informally and have to cross the railroad tracks, unfortunately, but we're going to be pouring a concrete path in there. And so the neighbors are excited about it. And I think that's going to be a very good improvement there. So that's everything I have for this group. Are there any questions?
That should keep you
Doug,
busy.
where does go ahead, I'm sorry, Pat.
I just say that should keep you busy for a while.
I hope so. Yeah, I think the other thing we'll be installing at least a few more of the flashing beacons. We love them. We're known for them. So we may get monies from Senator Marcus. I don't know whether we're going to get that or not. That's a little bit more of a long shot for those, but we're doing them either way. If we don't get funding from her, we will do it with our own money. So either way, we're going to be putting more of those devices in.
Doug, how's all this word getting out to the public? Is there some plan with Amanda to be announcing these things other than just in the crier?
Yeah, there is. I usually, well, I'm providing you all a little bit more detail. Sometimes we'll put out a release to say we've completed sidewalk on Catawba Avenue. You know, we'll do things like that occasionally. The one that we really have to hit heavy is the downtown signal modifications. And then looking further ahead, the one that we're going to have to spend a lot of time on is the Hawk signals.
Mhm.
And I think I've talked with you all about that, but they're not a new thing, but they're a new thing in Davidson. And we may have a situation like the roundabouts there where it will be a continuing education process for drivers and pedestrians there. So that educational piece of that is going to be crucial. There's some videos out there. We may make a video, but right now we're thinking these things are coming in November. That's the contract date. So that's going to be the one that we really have to hit heavy and often.
And Doug, if I'm right, you'll put some of these in the newsletter
Yes, yeah,
coming up.
absolutely. They've already been in there a lot, but people forget. You know, it's
Yeah,
normal to forget.
I wonder if it's worth talking to News of Davidson and asking them to do some kind of little regular feature that showcases it. Again, just as another way of keeping the issue front and center, that shows you guys are slowly chipping away at this and working through, so that there's, kind of a constant flow of news about additional efforts you're making on pedestrian safety.
I think so. I'm not a good one for continuing to put information out, especially with these little things, kind of do them and move on. But I agree that's something we need to work a little bit more on, sort of.
I'd be
saying,
happy to
let people
talk to
know.
Margot and see if they can maybe set a little something up. And, if they get a little bit of a tickler file on their end, it might be them reaching out and asking Amanda, hey, what should we put in this week? Which would maybe take a little of the onus off you to remember to put it out and instead have them asking.
Or maybe it could be like a monthly thing. And, everybody starts to be conditioned that the first week of the month, News of Davidson will put an update on Vision Zero projects or something. That might be
if
good.
It's okay,
Connie.
I'll talk to Margot and sort of brainstorm some stuff with her and then maybe bring it back to this group as a proposal. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on on Instagram. So is that part of, I would assume that would be part of the outreach. I did see that they're hiring a public safety and engagement officer. Is that something that we would use?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that person would do some Vision Zero education from the enforcement side.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with Connie. I just think continued marketing and just hitting that as much as possible in many different ways to reach, just to reach as many people in the community would be awesome.
Well, and maybe if what Margot and I could think of, remember we were using, the task force had been using that hashtag #WalkSafeDAV. Maybe what they can do is start to, in their posts, use that hashtag so that somebody could, if they were really interested, somebody could search that hashtag and be following it that way. so that it's coming from a number of places, not just relying on Amanda and what you guys can carry.
Would we
I'll
want,
talk to
would
her.
we want to change, use maybe like Vision Zero or VZ Dave as a hashtag? Because we'll also put in there stuff of, you know, like
Bikes.
cycling and motorists, you know, like the traffic lights and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to think how to encompass every mode of transportation in there that we're working to.
How about if I brainstorm it with her and I'll just bring it back? You know,
Yeah.
it could be that you use, like, there's no limit on hashtags, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
you could put, you know, bike safe day, DAV, VZ, DAV, like get her to hit it with a number of hashtags so that you're
Yeah,
getting it
I
out
think
there
that's
any
great.
way someone looks.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
keep,
I like that there's a Vision Zero one for
Yeah.
sure, just to
You-
give it that sort of name recognition. But yeah, Connie, are you going to talk to, who are you talking with?
Margot.
Margot Williams. Margot Williams is on the, actually, I'm on that board too, but Margot is the most active publisher on it. She kind of maintains the posts and does a lot of the
Oh.
editing and writing. So I'll
Okay,
talk
cool.
with her.
Okay, thank you.
maybe we could use the logo that we developed for
Mhm.
the other, along with the hashtags. You know,
Definitely.
keep the,
Yeah, I'll get that back to her. I think I've given it to her before, but I'll give it to her again. The one that we used for what was that, Leslie?
I'll give you the
Stickers.
updated one that Laura worked on
That's yeah.
for the Vision Zero.
That's exactly the one I'm talking about. The one
Yep.
that we used at the bike day over at
Mhm.
Bailey, and the one that we used on, I guess that was Town Day.
I'll send it to you again. I'll send it to everybody.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks, Leslie. And thank you, Doug, for those updates. Those are awesome. And it sounds like we are making a lot of great progress. So thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, traffic garden. So this is pretty cool. I don't know. Charlie or Connie, did you all want to give a little bit of an update on what's going on?
I think we had a good meeting this morning, thanks to Connie and Erica Croak. It was a great meeting, and Leslie was there, so there's a lot of information right at hand. I would recommend we listen to what Connie has to say insofar as she wants to comment on resources from the state.
Yeah, well, so it's this small group of people, right, who've sort of peeled off and said, well, let's try to work on a single project that we could maybe help the town advance without adding to their plates. And Erica Croak, who was a member of the Pedestrian Safety Task Force, offered to kind of take the lead on it and organize us. And we've gotten together a couple of times. But we were all struck by the opportunity that may arise in the next couple of months with development proposals that are on the table, that there may be room here to have a quicker and conversation about the traffic garden, where we might locate it, how we might fund it, and how we might grow it. Today, we talked a little bit about not just a traffic garden, but sort of a program that would include a traveling traffic garden, a sort of a pop-up traffic garden that could be used as one-day events all over town, and even be lent out to other towns around us. A smaller traffic garden that would incorporate balance bikes, some scooters, and some small bikes. And I'll leave Leslie to decide if she wants to talk about that potential location. And then a third one that maybe is sort of the dream one that kind of brings everything together, that would be focused on a multimodal traffic garden that incorporates little ped cars so that the kids are having the experience of both being drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians in the same little traffic garden. I was, Elise Keefe referred us to a woman in Raleigh who works at the state DOT. Her name is Mary Jo Gellenbeck, as she's sort of the I guess, the state champion for traffic gardens, and she was immediately responsive, and we had a long, long conversation this morning. She showed me all kinds of good videos and best practices. She talked a little bit about cost. She talked a little bit about citing. She talked a little bit about talking with elected officials about it, all of which was helpful. Prior to that, I'd had sort of a side conversation with Autumn Michael just to sort of test the water and talk with her about positioning and potential to bring that conversation to the table sooner rather than later with town board members. And she feels like, yeah, there's absolutely would be interest among the electeds about this. So, Leslie, you want me to talk a little bit about the notion of the smaller, the sort of the medium-sized permanent traffic garden that we were talking about today?
I mean, you could. I mean, we're just, there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of moving components when it comes to locations, and we just brainstormed some locations, and it's a matter of working out certain things with, you know, with the developments that are happening in town and leveraging the park access, or the park access that they're not able to provide because they don't have the land to provide that, and how to incorporate it in some of those. And I think as we move forward, we'll know more about that. And so
our goal as a group was to pull together a proposal that we would provide this group and hold out as sort of the centerpiece of a conversation with town board members, hopefully maybe at a work session meeting. I don't think they call them that anymore, but in a month or two, so that we could continue to advance this and chase down. There's some federal funding. I don't know if Natasha's efforts to get money for the Vision Zero planning is tied to this. I kind of think it's probably not, but the new infrastructure money that the feds are offering is contingent. Its availability to states is contingent on the state's ability to show that it is spending money at a rate proportionate for pedestrian safety projects at a rate proportionate to the gap between the threshold number that the feds have set, which is that 15% of traffic fatalities occur among vulnerable users, and vulnerable users include pedestrians, cyclists, people who are in motorized mobility devices, and cycles that have more than two wheels, so three-wheelers. The 15% is something that they set as a target goal, and each state is having to show through its data where it sits relative to that 15% goal. As an example, Texas, which has a significantly bigger problem than we do statewide in North Carolina, is sitting at 47%. So it's got to come back in order to access that federal money. They've got to come back and show how they're going to raise the amount of state money that they're committing to pedestrian safety projects to be proportionate to the amount of a decrease they need to create in that, toward that goal number. For us in North Carolina, it's much smaller. Our documented rate is 17%. We need to get to 15%. So the state has a much smaller gap to close, but it also has a really large incentive to go find ways to spend that extra money so that they can then access the new federal money that's available for infrastructure, which is a much broader pot of money. Doug, do you know, does what Natasha's been chasing, is that a part of counting toward that narrowing of the gap?
It's not, that's not the funding that we're getting from Vision Zero is not part of that. There is the SS4A monies
Mhm.
that is a little bit more. There's a big equity piece to that. But, and that may be what you're thinking of, but, in any case, we're not gonna be able to, we're not gonna be able to qualify on that front. We looked at the SS4A grants.
I think
Sorry,
that's a
go ahead.
little bit different.
Yeah, it
From
may
what,
be
at least this
something
woman at
different.
the state level talked about,
Yeah.
she seemed to say, look, there's some generalized spending that the state's gonna need to do from state money that you maybe go after. And since you're a small town and you might be proposing something that, relatively speaking, looks like a fairly small chunk of change to them, it might be a quick conversation. She seems to think the folks at DOT and in the legislature are highly motivated and encouraged us to have another conversation with our state legislator. She didn't realize that Natasha lives here in town. But it might be worth us. It sounds like, at least in my experience, it's usually a question of there's just not enough money out there. Nobody's funding anything. This sounds like there's a couple pots of money we might want to chase, if we've got some good ideas. And so this small group of folks is going to try to pull together a comprehensive proposal with some ideas about citing the traffic gardens, and present it to this group, and present it hopefully to the electeds as a way of moving that ball down the field and doing it kind of quickly.
It's a great project. I don't recall if it appears on one of our plans. I think I'll have to look and see if it's in the mobility plan. I think it is. It's usually really helpful for getting grants if a project appears in an adopted plan, and that's one of the reasons we do a new plan every 5 years, is because we get grants from them, among other things. So I'll check and see.
And I'm pretty
It's-
sure we have it mentioned in our Parks and Rec master plan, traffic garden, so.
And it certainly was one of the recommendations of the pedestrian safety task force in that plan. So
Right.
anyway, it seems like the energy behind that traffic garden could broaden the number of people and the range of people who are involved in trying to get something done for the town on pedestrian safety. It's tangible, it's intergeneration, it has an impact on, all the generations. It's, wow, it's just one of those projects that who could be against, a good playground education opportunity for kids. So it seems like it's a winner all the way around, and this group is eager to follow the trail and try to bring it in.
Yeah, I
Charlie, what'd I
agree.
forget?
I think we had a great discussion, and I think there's some good options and good opportunities for it. Just putting everything together, putting all the puzzle pieces together to make it work. That it would be beneficial.
Is there anything that we can do as a group at this point to kind of support what's happening?
I think we kind of are, because Charlie's been very involved in the discussion. Nicole's been very involved in the discussion. I've been engaged. Leslie's been engaged. So I think kind of our next step, when we walked away today at lunch, we said, let's pull together this proposal as a draft and then have people start putting eyes on it and get more feedback on it. So I think the next round for this group is coming, I hope, within the month.
Okay, perfect. Charlie, did you want to add anything?
No, I just want to underline, I felt like that Connie's talk with Betty Jo Gellenbach was really productive, and it gave some concrete encouragement to what has been kind of abstract until now. And I felt a lot of energy in this meeting. Leslie certainly helped us. She said, let's go. And so I think by next month, we may have a look, at least a schematic of a plan.
Wow, that's
Yeah, I
amazing.
think Mary Jo would be willing to do some of the design for us in her position, and she's designed a number of them. At least, initial design work. She's also offered, as we move along this path, to come and talk with electeds, to talk with our group. She is a real champion. I mean, I think I was on the phone with her for 2 hours talking about this, and she was really, really eager to help us out, and I think eager to see other examples of traffic gardens get launched throughout North Carolina. I mean, I think she would be a champion for us both here and as a link to the folks in Raleigh, which I think is a good thing.
Mhm.
Definitely. I think we need to talk to Natasha and clarify our funding possibilities. I don't want to drive her crazy. On the other hand, she is an elected, as you use your word. And it wouldn't hurt to have this conversation sooner than later.
Yeah, I agreed at the group today that I'd reach out and chat with Natasha a little bit, so I'll do that follow-up this week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, next month sounds like it's going to be really exciting. We've got a lot of stuff going on. So thank you, Connie. I know you're also next on the agenda for your conference, which is next month as well.
Yeah, this is the North Carolina Traffic Safety Annual Conference. This is something that we were invited to present at before this group came together, kind of in the interim between the Pedestrian Safety Task Force and this group coming together. Their interest, Elise is the facilitator for the panel. She's having 3 folks. We're one chair, and her particular interest in Davidson was to showcase and talk about the level of civic engagement we got over the course of the pedestrian safety project. Some of you will remember that Angela, who leads up the Vision Zero, is the staff person who leads up the Vision Zero initiative in Charlotte, has said a number of times to us, man, I'd love to have your problem, having too many people involved, having too many people outside of town government wanting to roll up their sleeves and get involved in this. Civic engagement is our biggest piece. So I talked with Laura Schumacher a week ago now, maybe a week and a half ago. She's offered to help put together the format for this panel is going to be that each one of us has been asked to do a, maybe 4 or 5 minute presentation. And then based on those 3 presentations, Elise is going to facilitate a discussion among the 3 of us. So what I suggested to Elise is that maybe we could do a video that would really kind of highlight the people in town on the ground who've been involved in this. And Laura Schumacher, who was on our task force and who does communications professionally, said that she would be willing to help create 2 videos. One, which would be about a 3 to 4 minute video that focuses on that level of citizen engagement for the conference, but one that's bigger, longer, that the town perhaps could use as part of its ongoing outreach and education effort to talk about how we as a town are approaching pedestrian safety and what we're trying to accomplish as a town. I sent Laura notes last week on sort of a draft, almost like kind of a storyboard or a story arc for what that shorter video could look like, including some suggestions of people that would be included in interviews. And we both agreed that I'd reach out to the digital media teacher at CSD and ask if there are any kids in her class over the summer who would be interested in helping do some basic shots, get some footage, and maybe even do some of the interviews. And I've got 2 kids who've responded to that. I think that Laura would be open when the school year starts, and if we do a longer video, to reaching out to Huff, and asking, making the same ask, reaching out to Davidson Day, reaching out to Woodlawn, to those high school kids too, to see if there are other kids who would like to be involved in that as part of a learning experience. So Laura, I spoke with Laura on Sunday, and she said she would get back to me. Like, I'm assuming I'll hear from her tomorrow or Wednesday on her initial feedback on the notes that I sent her, and we'll just keep developing it. When we get to a place where at least I've gotten her feedback, I will share those notes, those revised notes with you all, for your feedback as well.
And Connie, when you and I talked, one question I had was, if our group or some members of our group would be able to attend the conference.
I
And
sent you the
yeah.
registration information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, how would you guys feel about that? I can forward that to everyone. Would y'all be interested in attending?
What are the dates?
It's a week-long conference that is not just focused on pedestrian safety. It's all highway safety issues across the board. But the
Is it the
particular panel
18th?
that we're doing is on the 18th of August. And it's early. It's at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be doing it virtually, because we had planned to be at the beach that week. It turns out I'm going to be in Chicago helping Ian move. But either way, I'm going to participate virtually. So if you guys look at the registration information, let me know if anyone's interested. If you're interested either in that session specifically or other sessions more broadly, I think that Elise would certainly give us a link to somehow participate virtually just for that panel.
Okay.
And then if there's more interest, once you've looked at all the material, then I guess we could talk about, could a representative go from our group?
Yeah, because this says it's what, for the entire conference, it's 175.
Yeah. So if
Okay.
there's a virtual option, it might be that we register our group and different people, tab into different sessions. But take a look at the agenda, because the agenda is much broader than just what our specific interest is.
And we could
yeah.
also see too, sorry to interrupt, if if there's any way we could just get the video of that
Right.
set. There aren't any other sessions that are really relevant to the work this group does. So
I'll reach out to Elise tomorrow and ask that first general question, if we could get a live link, and if not a live link, or in addition, could we also get access to the recorded version, so that we can at least do that.
There's some different things on here. So I'll forward this email out to you guys, and y'all take a look at the agenda. Just let me know what you think, if there's anything of interest. Okay, very cool. I think the last thing that I had was, and I know we only have about 10 more minutes. We wanted to talk about the walk-friendly community designation. I know that we were recognized again this year for the 11th year, I think, in a row as a bronze community, which is amazing. I'm looking at the website. So there's, I think, 82 cities across the US. And there's only a couple in North Carolina. It looks like Charlotte and Asheville, maybe Cary. But we wanted to pick your brain, Leslie and Doug, about, so 11 years, I think we've been bronze level. we wanted to kind of just see as a group if this was something we could work on, or if you have any insight into how we could move up in the world next year. Just thinking ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you every year or every time we reapply for that, and actually after we get the designation, we look at it, we look to see how we can get to the next level. And, because of our size of town, some of the things are really not possible to do. Because you notice a lot of those gold and higher designated cities, they're bigger
Yeah,
towns
it's
and
like
cities.
New York City and Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we definitely look at that, and I know we're always striving to improve on that. And I think a lot of the projects that we have and moving forward with Vision Zero, that might help us quite a bit with possibly moving up to the next level. So, I'll pull up that application, and bring it to you guys, and maybe we have a meeting that we talk about it and we look at, I can go through and, because I've said in some of those meetings when we're looking to reapply it, what can we do? So I can highlight some of those, and send it to you guys, and you guys can look at it too and see if there's anything standing out that you think we could work to improve on. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I would add to that we are, I think, still a bronze level bicycle community as well. There's a
Mhm.
similar,
Okay.
they're very similar applications or
Okay.
not applications, but so, and I recall the last time I looked at it, there were some significant barriers for us getting silver, and it just was a numbers thing. It just, I think Carver is silver. I can't remember, maybe one or two others.
Yeah,
but,
I think Carrie, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Who makes the designation? What association is it?
It's just walk friendly.
I have forgotten who the organization
maybe-
is.
Let me
Maybe
see if I can
the
find it.
I'm trying to pull it up too.
leveling sort of presumes more metropolitan area. Maybe one of the things we could do as a group is write them some letters to say, hey, what about small town designations? By virtue of your tiering system, you've closed us out, but here we sit 13 years or 11 years later, continuing to be awarded bronze. We're trying to do everything we can to get this out in front of people. How about a small town designation?
Yeah. It actually says Walk Friendly Communities is supported and operated by the UNC Highway Safety Research Center.
Fun.
Previously sponsored by FedEx, we are supported by the Pedestrian and Bicycle Information Center, a national clearinghouse on bicycling and walking funded by the US DOT.
All right. Well, maybe that's a thing to pursue too, is,
Yeah.
let's scale this in a way that's meaningful so that it doesn't look like we're stalled out with what
For
we're
11.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our Vision Zero, folks are based out of the UNC Highway Safety Program as well. So I think that's where
Yeah.
these.
Okay, great. The last thing on our agenda is just any more, just continuing to think about ideas for any engagement over the summer, where we can just maybe get FaceTime with people at different events. If anyone has any ideas, or if there's some interesting stuff coming up that the town is doing that we can kind of participate in and maybe market a little bit.
I know our police department are still doing and planning on days that they go out and do education like they've been doing, and actually citing people and warning people of if they're, I forgot what the pedestrian impeding the crosswalk. They've given some citations for that. They continue to do that, as well as also on days just educate people. So, it's kind of educate and then also enforce. So the police are still doing that on a regular basis.
I wonder
I
if
know
we
that.
could get at Concerts on the Green, put a little spiel together so that at each concert on the green, there's just kind of a little reminder announcement that says, hey, we're working as a community to make this a safer place for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. When you leave tonight, however you're leaving, please pay attention. Like just some basic, so it's out there all the time.
Yeah, I think Concerts on the Green is a great idea.
That's a great idea. I'll speak. Kim is out of the country until Monday. So I'll speak with her on Monday when she gets back.
That'd be
See
great.
about putting something in for the rest of the concerts, because we have, I don't know if you're aware, 3 concert series now. We have the Concerts on the Green,
Yeah.
Concerts at the Circles, and South Main Square concerts. So quite a few
Yeah, all of those
opportunities
would be
there.
great. I think all those would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Might be interesting to talk to the college too about like maybe their public safety department or whoever's coordinating move-in days for freshmen, but something that says, hey, can we put something in your packet that reminds parents and kids who are coming to school here, you're coming to a place where people are out on their bikes or out walking a lot. Please be mindful. They're just another one of those kind of ticklers for people who are kind of new to our community or who may not be as in touch generally with what we're trying to do.
I'll speak with either Chief Dunn or Lieutenant Stokes or Lieutenant Sosnowski and see what they know from the Davidson College Police Department, because I would think that in their whatever their welcome weekend is for their freshman orientation, you think that the public safety does some type of a spill for them, you know?
I think they do, but I think that it's typically focused more on like how to keep yourself safe. And
But
there
maybe
might
they can
be
add
another
to it.
way to, yeah, like just add to that and maybe keep the residents here, the permanent residents here safe too by being conscious when you drive from your dorm to Concord Road to get to class.
Yep. Okay. So I'll put those on my list to talk with Kim and talk with our police on education with the Davidson College Police Department. Okay.
Sounds great. Did anyone have anything else?
Thanks, Leslie, for pulling us together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
We'll get it going. Thanks for all your great ideas and working hard, giving time to help the community. It helps.
Yeah, it's a lot of good progress being made. Thanks to everybody. I hope you guys had a great holiday. I appreciate y'all for being here tonight. And I guess we'll go ahead and plan at this point to meet again on the 8th, unless we need a little bit more time, in which case we would meet on the 15th. Okay.
I know that
awesome.
for both of those dates, just Jennifer, for your information, I know both those dates I will not be here, so I hope we can keep it remote so I'll make sure that I can dial in, but
Oh yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna do remote. I believe, yeah.
Perfect.
I think
Okay.
especially if we're doing a kickoff with a consultant, remote probably is the best way. Because for the kickoff, they probably, I don't know, they wouldn't come down. Maybe, I don't know, they possibly could, but.
So the subtlety there is that Lauren is based in Raleigh.
Yeah.
But they have a presence in Charlotte as well, their firm. So, but I suspect we would have a virtual kickoff.
That'd be great.
Make sure we can get as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you guys so much. We'll send out these
Thanks,
minutes.
everybody.
And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in August.
Thanks.
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 Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.